All right, guys, welcome. Happy Sunday. A live stream on a Sunday. I'm going to preface, we're going to see how this goes. My husband and my daughter are both home. They're in the yard. I tried to do a clubhouse with Ada, the black carnivore, probably about a month or so ago. And I had to leave early because my daughter had a tantrum of like epic proportions and I had to be called in for reserve. So I'm just going to start my live stream off with that and hopefully she'll be happy and good and fine. But I see you guys popping on. Feel free to, in the chat, let me know where you're watching from. I have a ton of questions that I'm going to answer that you guys submitted, and I had to like paste them all together. My printer was acting funky. So I've been going over a lot of these questions, and I will talk about the PE diet. That was a really popular question. Protein sparing modified fasting, intermittent fasting, electrolytes, all that stuff on the stream. And then once I get through answering a lot of these questions, I will. Okay, cool. I see you guys popping on. I've got Diana's in Portland. Then I will get to your questions as well. And I've got Montana in the house. So yeah, thank you guys for being here. I'm just going to go through these and then I will try to go back through all your comments if there's more questions. I probably won't get to all these questions that were submitted. I did record, I did a video and I answered a lot of these questions on Friday, filmed it, and my dumbass didn't turn the microphone on my camera. Had no idea. Had filmed for like 45 minutes, answered a lot of these questions, and came in the house to edit the video, and there was no sound. I was like, oh, geez. Hello, Georgia, a fellow Georgian in the house. Hello, Kim. So I said, you know what? I just want to go ahead and answer a lot of these questions. I don't want people to feel like they submitted a bunch of questions on my YouTube and I just totally ignored them because I am going to have to refilm that. So I'm going to get to as many as I can. The ones I don't get to, I'm going to refilm. So the first question I'm going to get to is from Danielle Barnett. She says, what do you think of protein sparing modified fasting? Maria Emmerich has a lot of informative videos on her page, and it seems like it would help with a weight loss plateau. So that's a good question. And I have tried a protein sparing modified fast in the framework of not an animal-based diet, just trying to do it not carnivore-based, and then also as a carnivore as well. So yeah, I see you guys popping on. Arkansas, Canada. Thank you for being here. So, this is my thoughts on the protein sparing modified fast. You have to really test it out for yourself. And I know this is not like I wish I could give you like a yes or a no, but there's some people that do protein sparing modified fast and they just absolutely love it. It takes the weight off. It will take the weight off. It will definitely take the weight off, but how are you going to feel and what is it going to do to you hormonally? And I think even Maria Emmerich, she doesn't recommend that people do it every single day. I haven't read a lot of her stuff on the protein sparing modified fasting just because I know for me, it's a big fat no, that it absolutely makes me feel like complete crap. And I hit a wall every time I try to do it. And it's just like a no, thank you. So you have to test it for yourself. Ways that you would know if it was not working for you, if it was breaking down your body hormonally, would be the first little symptom you would have is just trouble sleeping. I say that for everything. I say that for any kind of dietary protocol and is the trouble sleeping. If you need to look into that, it's probably causing some kind of elevated cortisol, or for women, lowered progesterone, and men, lowered testosterone is usually the first thing to happen. So protein sparing modified fast, sure, you can try it out. But for women, I see them, usually it's about the 3-week mark that they hit that wall hormonally with the lowered progesterone, elevated cortisol. And then the men last a little bit longer. It's about 6 weeks or so. There's an evolutionary reason for this. We women, have to reproduce. And so our bodies, those hormones downregulate faster than they do for men. So that's my thoughts on that. Try it out for yourself. If you're curious about what it's doing to you hormonally, first check your sleep. And then you can always just test your progesterone. You can test, hey, Sasha, you could test your testosterone. So that's, and Sylvie says regular fasting doesn't work for me. So I do a protein sparing modified fast on Mondays. And I think it's something you can do cyclically, right? I think you can do it, if you do it one day a week or so. I just think that it's like 7 days a week all the time as like, that's your dietary plan is a recipe for disaster for a lot of people. But as I say, test it out for yourself. I have a progesterone test and a testosterone test linked in the information section below. If that's something you're like, I wonder if my progesterone is low or testosterone is low, test it, and this is going to go for all the dietary plans I talk about today. Okay. So next question is it's from Millie Molly. How do you feel physically and mentally eating a small amount of vegetables? And what do you think of the PE diet? So here's the PE diet. I got like 5 or 6 questions for PE diet. So I'm like, let me answer this one of the first ones. So I actually feel pretty good eating small amounts of vegetables and cycling those in on carnivore. I do end up eating carnivore a lot of days. It's kind of like every time I sit down to make a what I eat in a day video, I'm like, oh, I just kind of want to eat carnivore today. And so I will make one of those in the future, but I feel pretty good on that. I do have a video coming on Tuesday this week. I had a very bad reaction to something that I reintroduced, and it was not I wouldn't call it a small amount of vegetables. It was a supplement that I tried, and I had a really, really negative reaction to it. And so I've decided to make a video to tell you guys about it. So that will be coming out on Tuesday. But other than that little reaction that I had, I've been feeling really good. Sleep is actually even better. My electrolyte management, which I'll talk about on the live stream today, is a lot better as well. I'm not having the issues where I like just can't hold on to minerals at all and have to supplement constantly. Some guy commented on one of my videos like, oh, what does that even mean? Can't even hold on to minerals. Just to, he said I was just like being dramatic. I'm like, no, talk to someone who's done keto or carnivore for a while, what that looks like with the electrolyte issues. It can mean swelling. It can mean excess urination. It can mean all kinds of stuff. And it's just no fun. That was like my biggest problem with eating 0 carb, and just the smallest little amount of veggies has stopped that. So that's been cool. But a lot of days I still do, I still just eat carnivore. And the PE diet is a protein energy diet, Dr. Ted Nyman. And I think I'm going to get him on my podcast someday soon to talk a little bit more about this. But I see the same thing on the PE diet that I see on protein sparing modified fasting in regards to hormones. And so again, people feel really good on it initially for like the first couple of weeks. And then there's not enough fat in the diet and they start having issues hormonally, like they start not sleeping well. And it's different for everyone. I feel like the younger that you are, the more you can get away with that, because I probably did something very similar to the PE diet before I even did carnivore. Like when I was in my early 30s, I was like doing a lot of yoga because I was teaching. I've been teaching the whole time, but I was starting to do a lot of bodybuilding. I was starting to lift a lot of weights. And so I was doing maybe 200 grams of protein a day. And at the time I probably weighed 135. And I was eating tons of protein and pretty low fat, but I was eating some carbs. And the other thing about the PE diet is that the way Dr. Nyman does it is that he does have people eat carbohydrates, like a smaller amount, like 100 grams of carbs a day, but there are carbs on the PE diet. So that's another thing that kind of gets left out of the conversation. I think if you do PE, if you do super high protein as a carnivore diet, you can do that for a while, but eventually it's going to be super stressful on the body. And it's going to lead to those hormonal issues. Again, the lower progesterone, lower testosterone, higher cortisol. And so you got to test that stuff for yourself to see how you feel. Maybe you can do it for a while and it really helps and you feel great. And if you're super, super active, it's going to be easier for you to convert that extra glucose from all the protein into those muscles. So you'll be able to get away with it a lot better, I think, if you're super active, like maybe like CrossFit or just lifting super heavy, that type of lifestyle. Dr. Nyman's really active. So those are my thoughts on protein sparing modified fast and PE diet. Okay, let's see. Awab Nahela, I totally butchered that, I'm sure, says, you mentioned in one of your old videos, I forget which one, that your face used to be a little puffy. How did you reduce the puffiness again? If I remember correctly, it had something to do with electrolytes. Is that correct? And yeah, that goes along with the whole electrolyte thing that a lot of people struggle with. Not everyone. I mean, there's always outliers everywhere. There's people, I've been doing this all these years. I'm doing great. I'm fine. But then I get all the DMs, I get all the comments, I got the messages from people who are struggling with the electrolyte issues, and it's bad. It's really bad. And the face puffing, the swelling was one of the biggest things that I had an issue with my electrolytes, because I would have an issue with doing too much sodium. And then I had stopped supplementing potassium for a while. I've gone back and forth with potassium. The best way to know how you should supplement, honestly, is to get a hair tissue mineral analysis. And I have one linked to my information section. Those are very helpful. I have done 1, 2, 3, 4 of those now. And I owe you guys a video on kind of breaking all that down and showing you what I've done. But I've used the hair tissue mineral analysis to know, like, okay, I need to add a little bit of potassium in. I need to do this much sodium, and I'm doing too much sodium. Oh, wait, I do need magnesium, because I had taken magnesium out for a while. I was low on copper, which was crazy because I was eating beef liver 5 times a week. So that's how I found out I needed to start taking some digestive enzymes, because I was obviously not absorbing the minerals out of my food. So I think with the electrolytes, we all are going to need sodium, potassium. We all do, whether you're low carb or not. You need those minerals in your body. We all need magnesium. We all need those. They're essential. But how much you need, the hair tissue mineral analysis is super, super helpful in letting you know, and then you retest, you see. So you can do it for a little bit, and then you might be able to back off. Like, I've backed off on my potassium quite a bit after doing a little more supplementing for about 60 days. I've backed down a little bit, and I don't get the swelling anymore. So I hope that helped. Let's see. Jamila asks us, can you please talk about how you eat and work out during the different phases of your cycle, ovulation versus period? You mentioned it on your community tab one day. So yes, I am, and I have gotten a little bit more into this kind of cyclical, and I do it even with my workouts now, of how I eat and how I work out during the different phases of the month. Okay, that's weird. My whole thing just went down. Can you guys hear me okay? My whole browser just disappeared. That is super weird. Just holler at me in the comments. Let me know that you guys can still see me. I don't know what just happened. Okay. Someone says, how do you add potassium into your diet? So I'm hoping that you guys can see me okay. You have to supplement potassium. You can't just, you can get it through some foods, but if you're like me, like I was eating beef liver 5 times a week, and I was not absorbing the copper from that beef liver, then you may just need to supplement for a little bit. Okay, I got some thumbs up so you guys can still hear me. Okay, yay, thank you guys. So avocados, thank you guys, Tech Resources. Thank you so much for letting me know you guys can see me. That was weird. My browser just totally disappeared. I was just talking, and okay, hopefully it will not do that again. But yeah, if you have to know, number one, are you absorbing your foods? Because avocados are a great source of potassium. You can get leafy greens, like collard greens. Those are pretty low in anti-nutrients. You can get potassium there. There's ways from food to get it, but can you actually absorb what's in that food, right? And I knew from that hair tissue mineral analysis that I was having issues with absorption. Also on my Thrive test, my gut health test, I've got one. I have so many of these. There goes my mic and my whole setup. Oh my gosh, I'm having a moment. Okay, but yeah, I just got another Thrive test. That was fun. And I'm going to test again because I was not absorbing and breaking down my protein either. And so, you might be fine to just eat an avocado a day. I've seen a lot of keto influencers and people say, just eat an avocado a day, and that's going to be plenty enough for your potassium, and sorry, I just got a super chat. It's making me laugh. And, you just have to know for yourself, are you absorbing those nutrients or not? If you're not, you may need a digestive enzyme to help break it down for a little bit to help build up your own enzymatic function. But for me right now, I just am using a potassium supplement. I'm using a potassium citrate, a powder. So, and Matthew Kleiner wants to know, what are your thoughts on watermelon? Thank you so much for the super chat. That's the way to get me to skip all the questions and answer your questions. So, I used to have this view of like fruits as they were all bad and I'm never going to touch them again. I'm still not really thinking about eating a bunch of fruits or watermelon. But I do think that, if you have done this for a while and you've solved a lot of your major health issues, that it's not a crime to have some fruit every now and then. It's, like I said, not something that I'm doing, but I have seen people, have solved their health issues and be able to introduce some real whole food fruit back in their diet. What is evil? What is bad? And I don't even want to say evil or bad. What's going to impact your health negatively are the processed carbohydrates, the processed foods that have the seed oils and that white sugar, like that is what I find to be really negative for people. And some people with watermelon, it is going to mess with their blood sugar too much. So if you're, working out a lot, if you lift a lot of weights, you can use the sugar from the watermelon, and that can be really helpful. That's interesting. Tech Resources says, Sarah, I did the gut analysis and no triglyceride bacteria. How was yours? I think my triglyceride bacteria was normal. But I have helped a lot of people look at their Thrive results. I have links in the information section. I have a private group that I run right now. I'm going to do another group challenge in June. I've kind of taken a little step back from my group challenges. I put so much into my groups when I do run them. And I do, like I said, I have a membership group going on right now that you can join at any time. And that's linked in the information section. But quite a number of people in my group right now, I've helped them look through their Thrive test and their results and kind of go through them. And I have seen some interesting stuff in there. And that one is interesting about the triglyceride bacteria. Mine was totally normal. So I know that probably doesn't help you a whole lot, but it's very interesting. I mean, I would be curious how you're breaking down fats. Like, do you have any issues with like fat malabsorption, or your stools floating? Do you have greasy stools? All of that could be part of that as well. I was going to answer the question about eating for my cycle, fasting, all around that. And before my browser went out and then I like knocked my screen over, I'm just spazzing out. And then somebody wanted to know about watermelon, but I do appreciate the super chat. But for my cycle, okay. So this makes perfect sense. Tech Resources says, I don't digest fat at all. Yeah. That's probably why your triglyceride bacteria was super low. So I would be curious, and I've had a lot of great results with people in the Thrive test and getting the probiotics from Thrive. I'm getting a lot of my clients and a lot of people in my groups that are just loving those probiotics. And Tech Resources says, I went back to more protein and feel like $1 million. Yeah, it's just because it's probably your gallbladder is backed up, or you have low enzymatic function as well. And that's a really hard thing. I have another question on here in these questions that people submitted, is just the issues with the digestion of fats. That's why I have brought Steve Wright on my podcast. So I think that the gut is the biggest thing. And I have a lot of questions about people who like just really want to lose weight. That's a lot of these questions, is people who are just super stalled out with their weight and they really, really want to lose weight. Okay. Tech Resources says, I got the probiotics and they are awesome. Okay. That's really good. I'm glad to hear that. But people really want to lose weight. That's a big one. And a lot of them that are really stuck with the losing weight part, they're getting their Thrive test results back just like me, and their gut bacteria, it says you have 100% chance of being heavy. Mine is now 50%. So I have dropped that down from 100% to 50% after being on probiotics. I did the microbiome labs probiotics, and now I'm back on the Thrive probiotics. I'm also using Tech Resources, as Steve is Awesome. Yeah. And so Steve Wright, if you haven't seen him, he's on my channel. We talk a lot about digestion, and those products have been absolutely amazing. I have like a bunch of them under my desk. He sent me a ton of them, but then I just spent like $600 on my own. The Holozyme, I love this stuff. It has been amazing because, like I mentioned earlier, I was not absorbing my minerals. And this is another reason I didn't absorb my minerals, and I wasn't breaking down my protein. And it was just, so those have been really helpful for me. So with the fat, I don't know if you take ox bile tech resources, that could be something really helpful for you as well. Connie says, hope my Thrive probiotics help me lose weight. Weight loss is so hard for me. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard for a lot of people. There's a lot of reasons for that. The June group that I'm going to be running, obviously in June, we're going to go over this stress thing, stress and weight loss thing, because I can help you guys get the probiotics. I can help you guys with the digestion piece. We get the digestion piece down. You can get Connie doesn't have a gallbladder. Gotcha. That could be part of it as well. Okay. And Tech Resources takes ox bile and HCl. Okay. But this is the other part of people not being able to lose weight is stress and then metabolic adaptation, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more. Okay. I keep getting off track here. So how I eat and work out differently during different phases of my cycle. So I'm just going to break it down super quick. So week 1, like days 1 through 10, carnivore hard, keto hard, like no carbs. I can do hard workouts. I can do fasting during that time, and it's fine. No issues during that time. I have done a 36-hour fast in that time period with no issues. This was the first time that I think it was more like a 40-hour fast, and it was like days 1 through 2.5 of my cycle that I did that. No issues hormonally with that. No sleep disturbances, felt great. So for me, now kind of my new thing is days 1 through 10. I can go strict 0 carb with no problems. I don't get the same issues with electrolytes, all of that. During ovulation, so days like, 11 through, let's say 15 or so, I back off a little bit. I don't do any intermittent fasting. I eat a little bit more. I definitely eat a lot more high fat. I will do a little more avocado, a little bit more like collard greens, more carbohydrates, but in the leafy green vegetable form. And then the days like 17 through 20 or so, I don't really do a lot of fast. I can do intermittent fasting, but if I do, it has to be eating breakfast. I cannot do a breakfast skipping type of routine during that time, or it will affect me hormonally. I can cut off my eating window at like 3 and get away with fasting that way. And I'm still doing a little bit more veg during that time, still very meat heavy. And then the last part of my cycle, days 21 through 28, 0 fasting at all. Like usually I'm really hungry during that time. Definitely push the fat up really high. And then still a little bit more plants in that time too, but still very heavily. Like that's the week I'm at right now. And I do a ton of egg yolks. Like my body just craves egg yolks and like salmon roe and those types of foods a lot more during that time. So I shoot for a lot more nutrient density. I take my workouts down and I just relax a lot more. So I hope that answers that question. I'll do a video in the future about that. Jody says, waiting for my hair and mineral test. Do you remember how long it took to get the results? It shouldn't take more than a couple of weeks. If you don't have them back and you've been waiting for a while, I would contact them. I'd go on their website and check and see what's going on, Jody. Yes. And Melissa says, when I started incorporating electrolytes regularly, it got me out of a stall using Relight. Awesome. Okay. So this is a question I just got. And Noha says, fasting is the only way to lose weight for me, but I lost my cycle and my thyroid hormones went down because of fasting. How can I manage that? And 3 days per 3 meals per day enough for my hormones, or is snacks a must? Okay. I got to start doing more rapid fire because that was just like page 1 and I have like so many pages of questions. But you do not have to fast to lose weight. You do not. You can lose weight just by being in an energy deficit. And the fact that you're, number one, you probably want to be working with a coach, working with a practitioner. If your thyroid hormones are low, if these things have all happened to you, if you've had all these hormonal disruptions, you probably do want to go and find a coach, find a practitioner to work with to help you to get your metabolism out of shutdown mode. Because what happens, and I'm about to get a few more questions just like this from a couple other people that are in weight loss stalls, or they think they have to fast in order to lose weight. You've gone into some sort of metabolic, I don't want to say damage, but just shutdown, just down regulation. And to get out of that, you have to take weight loss off the table for just a little bit, and you have to get your metabolism and you have to get your body back in a good place. So that does mean eating a little bit more food for a while, and getting your body feeling safe. You can do that in the framework of an animal-based diet. Absolutely 100%. There are some people that say you have to eat carbs to do that. I think you can eat carbs if you want to. But if you don't want to, you don't necessarily have to in order to get out of that shutdown place. I did not eat carbs to get out of that shutdown place, but what I did, that was a huge, giant mistake. I had done kind of similar. I had lost my cycle and I was just doing a lot of fasting. My T3 was low. I had just totally screwed myself up. I had been doing too low calorie on carnivore, just not enough total food, intermittent fasting every single day with no break, zero break. And I wanted to get that back. And so I just jumped straight into doing a high fat carnivore and took all the fasting out, went from eating like 1 or 2 meals a day to 3 meals a day. And I gained 20 pounds like really quickly, really, really quickly. And so that's the other reason why some people say if you're going to do kind of a reverse dieting situation, that carbohydrates are a better idea, because you will gain less weight with carbs than you will with fat. Okay. But me, with the autoimmune issues that I've had and just my history with eating carbohydrates, that's just not a route that I wanted to go down. I wanted to continue to heal a lot of autoimmune issues that I was dealing with, continue to just go down the low carb, no carb path. And I did get my T3 back up. I did get my cycle back very quickly, start ovulating again, having regular, like painless cycles again. I was able to do that, but I gained a lot of weight quickly, 20 pounds really quickly. And I'm in process of losing that. I've lost like half of that, give or take, at this point. But it's been a pain. And these next few questions I'm going to get to, I feel like these people might be in that similar place of metabolic kind of shutdown for a little bit. So this person, you can lose weight without fasting, 110%. I lost 100 pounds with zero fasting. And I was eating carbohydrate. This was after I had my daughter. I was 235 pounds and I got down to 135 pounds, and I was doing no fasting and eating carbs. Now, I was also like a lot younger. I was also in my late 20s versus now at 41. So I don't know if that will work for me. But I do see a lot of people losing weight without fasting. So saying fasting is the only way I'm going to lose weight is just not true. Not true. You can lose weight without fasting. Okay. So Wendy says, I'm 52, post-menopause and struggling to lose weight, had my gallbladder out. Would you recommend upping protein and lowering fat? All I'm doing is gaining weight on carnivore. So this is another one where I would say work with a coach, work with somebody who can help you to kind of figure out what's going to work best for you. You know, you might be able to get away, since you're postmenopausal, with doing a little bit of a higher protein approach, right? You're a little bit less sensitive. Now, you still have to do some variation. You still have to have some high fat days in there. You can't do every single day like super high protein and low fat, because that is going to make your cortisol way too high. And you don't want that situation. And you do still have some of those hormones, but just your body, the demand on your body is less because you're already menopausal. So I would work with someone. If you're gaining weight on carnivore, work with someone, unless like you've been in this metabolic shutdown place and you're just eating more food and you're trying to get out of that. Any diet that you're gaining weight on, I talked with Steve Wright about this, that if you've been doing it for a while and you just keep on gaining weight, it's time to take a step back, to pause and say, like, what's going on? When I was gaining all that weight a year ago, when I had come out of my shutdown and I was doing all the high fat stuff, I knew what was happening. I was like, I know I have been restricting and fasting and all this crazy dieting, putting myself into this like complete high cortisol shutdown state for a long time. And I know what's going on. But some people don't know that they've been doing that, and then they go carnivore and they gain a lot of weight. Okay, so Karen Bell says, I'm a 57-year-old woman with a short 57-year-old woman with a desk job. I'm about 20 pounds overweight and want to lose any weight. I have to cut my calories so drastically, 800 or so, that I am uncomfortable all the time. I've eaten mostly keto for years and only eat in a 6-hour window of 2 small meals. Okay, so this is another situation where it's metabolic downregulation, and I would consider doing reverse diet. So like I said, with my reverse diet, it was just like, let's just go all in. There's a way you can reverse diet slowly, and it is not a quick process. I know she wants to lose 20 pounds, but what she may have to do, she's been keto for years and only eating in a 6-hour window. I don't know how long she's been doing this. You may want to, again, work with someone and then add a little bit of food every week. And it's kind of an arduous process, but you want to get your body back to, where you're able to eat more food. And then you got to stay there for a while. So I have been eating, a good amount of food, and I have just stayed there. Anytime, if I try to jump into a cut, jump into losing a lot of weight, I start to suffer hormonally. So me losing the 20 pounds that I've gained since a year ago has been a very slow, it's like plucking toenails type of a process. Adding the probiotics helped, adding the digestive enzymes helped, getting my electrolytes figured out helped. And like I said, I've lost about half of that, give or take, and I would like to lose the rest of it. But because of what I did to my metabolism, I put myself at, getting myself up to a really high amount of calories I was able to finally get to, and my body stopped gaining weight. And I was like, cool, I'm just going to eat this amount for now and be okay with it. I did my best and not really purposefully try to limit and cut down food. So after you do a reverse diet, after you get your body back to a certain level of eating that much and feeling safe, you got to hold there for 6 months or so. You may even need to hold for a year there. I know this is like not popular opinion at all. But the good news is you do that. You may gain 5 pounds or so if you do it the right way. You may not even gain that. You may just stay where you're at, right? Then after you get your body in that metabolic health place, you're not going to have to kill yourself to lose that 20 pounds. It's going to be a lot easier of a process. And then being at maintenance is going to be a lot easier as well. So this is it's not popular. It's not fun, but this is a situation I'm finding a lot of people in now, is just like they've done keto or they've done carnivore or these diets for a really long time. They've done intermittent fasting. They're eating these really small eating windows. And it's like their body has just kind of said, oh, well, you're not going to be feeding me. So I'm just not going to like burn that much energy. The thyroid's downregulated. All this stuff is downregulated. So yeah, I'm happy to talk more about this topic, but that's just the answer to that. Okay. So I'm only on page 2. We'll see how many I get to these 2. Anna Vargo says, I agree that too much protein could be causing my 2 wake-ups at night, but when I switched to more fat, I tried it for 8 months. I get up only once, but I put on 8 pounds. Now I'm trying to up carbs to 40 or 50 grams, lower proteins and fats, but hungry like I was for 35 years. I love the higher protein the most. Any suggestions? So what is happening, it sounds like to me, is that you have to pick a metabolism to be in. You got to be in glucose burning or you got to be in ketosis with 40, 50 grams or doing like super high protein. You're kind of more in the middle. You're not necessarily in pure glucose burning or in pure ketosis. So for your appetite to regulate, you either want to do one or the other, right? So you may want to try to do a little bit more than that. If you're really hungry, then your body's not getting something it needs. So it could be an electrolyte issue. It could be a mineral issue. It could be an absorption issue. I know that since I started the digestive enzymes, I'm not as hungry as I was. So like I said, I'm not purposefully restricting food right now. I'm not like on purpose trying to lose weight right now. I'm still kind of just holding where I'm at and being cool. I might do like a cut or something later this summer if I feel called to do it, but my life has been a little bit stressful this year. And I may open up about that. I know I alluded to that in my like why I'm not strict carnivore anymore video, but I have had quite a bang to 2021 starting. And it's not one of those things you want to go throw on the internet and tell everyone about. when you're still kind of processing it yourself, it's been really rough. So that's why another reason I haven't gone into like a cut. But yeah, that's what I think about with this is that, you got to be in one metabolism or the other metabolism. And you could be nutrient deficient. You could be having issues with your electrolytes. So these are all boxes to check off. It could be gut health. You might want to get a Thrive test and see if there's something going on with your microbiome as well, that's causing you to be hungry, some dysbiosis, right? Getting on a good probiotic, that could be really helpful too. Okay, so that's that question. Connie says, my cortisol is always low. Could that be a part of not being able to lose? It definitely could be a part of not being able to lose, is a low cortisol. And is that with a saliva test or is with a blood test? Did you get a Dutch test? Like, it's hard to know sometimes with these tests, like with progesterone, I put that link below. Women, if you want to test your progesterone, you always want to test on day 21. You want to test in the morning fasted. There's like a lot of nuance when you're testing these metrics. Oh, you're good, Tammy. You're 30 minutes in. She said, I set an alarm and I'm still late. I'm always late. Okay. Claudia Matthews says, are you still using the CGM? Do you still recommend it? So I have a CGM in my bedroom that Nutrison sent me. And like I just mentioned, I had this like really stressful, crazy thing happen in the beginning of the year this year. So that is why I have not put this thing on my arm yet, but I definitely still recommend it. I have private clients that have the CGM. I work with them. Some of my group members, they have the CGM, and I think it's really helpful. And it's in the information section below if you want to get one. But I think the CGM is great. It's great feedback for people that want to know like how your diet is actually affecting your blood sugar, what things actually look like. It's great feedback. And it's, for me, reintroducing some foods, I've just been pricking my finger a lot and kind of going more on how I feel. Lindsay McGuire says, I've been wondering if the personalized probiotics from Thrive are safe during pregnancy, but I can't find any info on their website. Wondering if you know. So I believe that, and this is not medical advice. None of this is medical advice at all. That when you're pregnant, you definitely should get some sort of probiotic support. And I think the Thrive is a great company. I've had a lot of great feedback. I use the products. And so during pregnancy, your baby is going to get your microbiome. So if you have some dysbiosis going on, the baby is going to inherit that. So it's a great time for probiotics during pregnancy. And again, not medical advice. And you can also go to Mark Sklar, Sklar, his channel. He also works with Thrive and recommends them for women who are trying to get pregnant and who are pregnant. And his whole deal is fertility and pregnancy. So I definitely think that it's safe. And again, it's not medical advice. Consult with your doctor. Okay, Rin says, how long until I see results? I have acne and it's day 4 of strictly ribeye and it's not getting better. Also, I haven't had a bowel movement, which is also concerning. So yeah, you want to give it longer than 4 days to see results on carnivore. I know I've got some people here on the chat that have been carnivore for a while or keto for a while that can back me up on this one. Acne is a gut issue, a liver issue. And so sometimes those things take a bit longer to straighten out, but I would give it longer than 4 days. And then if you're not going to the bathroom, this is another one you may want to add in some HCl digestive enzymes. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Make sure you have magnesium. Make sure you're chewing your food like 30 bites, 30 chews per bite, so that you're able to digest it. So that's my thoughts on that. Melissa wants to know thoughts on intuitive eating. Do you guys watch Greg Doucette? I would love to know if you guys watch Greg Doucette at all. It's one of my guilty pleasures on YouTube. I follow people that are not keto carnivore just purely for entertainment value. But yeah, Melissa says keto going on 6 years. Yeah. So Greg Doucette had a video about intuitive eating a couple days ago, and it kind of mirrors my same thoughts on intuitive eating. It's like, that video made me laugh so hard. So if you're curious, my thoughts, they're pretty much the same as Greg Doucette's, except Greg Doucette would not agree with the way that I eat, which is fine. But those are my thoughts on intuitive eating. H. Pritchard says, love your channel. It's so informative and your attitude to your health is so inspiring and informative. My question is for a 48-year-old man following a high-fat diet for therapeutic purposes, what are the most dangerous or unhelpful dogma in the carnivore community? Thank you, by the way. I think that the most unhelpful and dangerous dogma is that we don't listen to our own bodies, that we put people on a pedestal. We don't know exactly what's going on with them. They just present a certain thing on the internet, and we don't actually know, like, if they have other stuff going on they're not telling us about. A lot of times it's a too good to be true type of situation. So what I see with people, the ones I've worked with and that I've talked to, that they kind of gaslight themselves on their own issues. So just, continue to get regular blood work, continue to check your blood sugar every now and then, make sure that you're good there, and keep going, just listen to your body. Don't overdo it with the social media and the podcast and all that stuff. It's fun and it keeps you motivated. It's kind of a double-edged sword because it really can keep you motivated. It is a difficult lifestyle to stick to at times. And so you need the support of the YouTubes and the podcasts and stuff, but just continue to listen to your body. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Tammy says, if I were an intuitive eater, I wouldn't have gotten into so much trouble with my health. My intuition is whacked, but getting better. Yeah. What Greg was saying, and Melissa says, yes, I've watched some of Greg. What Greg was saying is like, if and what intuitive eaters they say is like, if you want pizza, eat pizza. Okay. If you want ice cream, eat ice cream, and you'll eat a lot of it, but eventually you're going to get tired of it. And like that, how much? Okay. Number one, that has never worked for me. I will just keep on eating more of it and gaining weight. I have been 235 pounds before, not pregnant. So I have this incredible capacity to just say, I'm going to eat as much of this as I want. When my dad passed away when I was 18, I was in college, and I like dropped out of college and moved home and literally went from like 100 and I think I was 150 pounds at the time up to like 235 pounds very quickly, like in a matter of a few months, because I was intuitive eating. No, I was like sorrow eating and dropping out of life eating. And I think I ate like all this. My mom would make these nacho like dips with Velveeta cheese and hamburger meat, and I would just eat like it was insane. So I just, I intuitive eating is just not something that I would ever really want to do. Intuitive eating keto, I think intuitive eating keto and intuitive eating carnivore, I think is a little bit more possible. But if you have food addiction issues, it can be really difficult too, because some people are just volume eaters. I'm definitely somebody who likes volume. So I think it's possible for some people. It's definitely more possible with keto or carnivore than it is with just like standard American diet. So yes. Trevor. Oh, Trevor, I was about to read your question. I swear to God. See? Trevor Hess is on, and he just put a question in the chat. And okay, I was just like wondering if you were thinking Sarah, because Trevor wants to know. That's hilarious. Okay. Hi, he says, hi, Jody, but I meant, hi, Sarah. Do you eat organs daily? I'm currently fixing histamine issues, and fresh desiccated organs aggravate it too much, but gaining better sensitivity by the day. Yeah, that's a funny coincidence. I do not eat organs daily. I do take the Histamine blend from Paul Saladino's company, heartandsoil.com. And I don't have a discount code, but my friend Dr. Rimka has a discount code. It's Dr. RIMKA, all caps. Give her a shout out. I love her. She has a discount code you guys can use. And I do the Histamine. I keep that in the freezer. So as soon as it gets to my house, I keep it in the freezer. I don't take it for a couple of days. I also eat liver. And I know that you have the histamine issue. So that's probably, like you said, the fresh and desiccated organs aggravate it too much. But those are things I do. But I also take a supplement by Dr. Becky Campbell. I don't know if you've heard of her. But she has a Histo Block supplement. If you go to, and I do take the Histamine daily. I take 6 caps a day. My daughter is here. I don't know if you guys can hear her squeaking in the background. But I do her supplement. I take 4 capsules of her supplement. You can go to her Instagram profile to go to her shop, go to her website. And it's like called Histo Block. It's her only histamine supplement. And it's got like vitamin C, nettle. It's got some plant medicine. But I find that people who can't necessarily tolerate those desiccated organs, who still have a histamine reaction from those. Okay, yeah, you saw my podcast with her, Trevor. that those people can tolerate that rather than the organs. The other thing I've been doing, I did supplement with copper for a little bit when I realized I was not absorbing the copper from my beef liver. I did supplement with a little bit of copper. Now I know this is a big no-no. If you follow like Morley Robbins and the root cause protocol, they're like, don't ever supplement copper. But I did use the upgraded formulas copper for a little bit. Then when I got in with Steve and started taking the digestive enzymes, I started going back to just eating my beef liver, and I could tolerate that one just fine. So there's that. What else for histamines? I'm trying to think. I did a video about histamines, but as far as NAC helping with histamine issues, that's not something I have tried, but I have been reading a lot about NAC lately. So that, I mean, it could be something to try. I'd love to know if you try it out, if it works, let me know. But histamine is just such an issue for people. It's hard. It's a hard one. I've been mouth taping too, and that's actually been helping with a lot of my issues. Okay, you're also supplementing with 5-MT. Yep, I supplement with that. And I supplement with a liposomal vitamin C, and glutathione's good too, and a DAO. Okay, those are all good supplements. Yeah, Tech Resources says kidney is also good for DAO. Yeah, and that's in the histoimmune supplement that Dr. Saladino has. It's got spleen, kidney, thymus, and liver. And Tech Research says, I wish I would have listened and not eaten so much fat like many say and taken it extremely slower. I mean, it's hard because fat is so good. And when you're just, eating fat and protein as your two macronutrients, it's hard not to overdo the fat, especially if you have been kind of restricting for a while. So we do the best we can at the time. I feel like a lot of people kind of followed me into the high fat carnivore world. And then a lot of them kind of did what I did and gained the weight. But I was honest. I'm like, this is what's going on with me. Okay. Dirty Genes, Dr. Ben Lynch he's a good resource for histamine too. And you take the histamine block from Seeking Health. That's Dr. Ben Lynch's company. Good. Okay. Molly Bloomer wants to know if you guys have questions. I'm getting closer to the end of a lot of these questions. So if you guys have questions, feel free to pop them in the chat at this time. But Molly Bloomer says, does eating a lot of steak hurt your teeth after a while? No, my teeth are actually better than they've ever been. Eating a meat-based diet, like my dentist is like, wow. Yeah, my teeth are better than they've ever been. You might want to invest in some good dental floss though, because you do have to floss a little bit more. But it does not hurt my teeth. Let's see. Laura Bennett says, a friend is in menopause and she enjoys fasting. Why may it work for her? Menopause, sorry, my husband's just yelling. I don't know if you guys can hear him. Anyway, I think that you can get away with a little bit more fasting after menopause. I talked about this a little bit earlier on, but yeah, I think you can get away with it after menopause because during perimenopause and before perimenopause, your body is working really hard to produce all these hormones, right? And then after menopause, there's an adjustment. I think in menopause that you still need to have some variation. You don't want to just fast all the time because you can still burn your adrenals out really bad, right? And men can do this too. You can still burn out the adrenals really bad, but you can get away with it a little bit more. Let's see. Trevor says, sorry, I missed some of the podcast. What's wrong with jumping into high fat carnivore? Does it have something to do with the histamine issues we were talking about? No. What I did, and I talked about this earlier, is that I was fasting too much and just restricting too much. I did not want to go the route of reverse dieting. I wanted to do reverse dieting. I wanted to get my metabolism back up. I did not want to go the route of eating carbohydrates, obviously, because of all the kind of autoimmune issues that I had. So I went to a high fat carnivore diet and I gained a lot of weight doing that. I gained 20 pounds really quickly. So it definitely was not the high fat carnivore diet that was inherently bad. It was great for me, but that's why. And thank you, Tech Resources. Tech Resources says, yes, you're amazing, Sarah. You're true blue and love that about you. Straight shooter. So rare. Thank you. Let's see. Yes, Penelope, she says, apologies if you've addressed this today, but where are you with electrolyte balance and what ultimately has worked best for you? Honestly, it's been the hair tissue mineral analysis, which I linked below. I'm going to do a full video about that and talk about that, but ultimately getting the hair tissue mineral analysis, getting a consultation, which is the other part, because those are really hard to understand, that and just doing some supplementing. And I've backed off on that. And then I retested. So that's ultimately what I've had to do. And now with electrolyte balance, eating a little bit of vegetable and avocado, like ketogenic things, olives, artichoke, some asparagus, still mostly meats and egg yolks and things like that. I don't have the issue with the mineral imbalance so bad, just because when you're not eating any carbs, your insulin is really low. And when you have really low insulin, your body excretes a lot more salt. Your body loses a lot more minerals with that low insulin. So just even a little bit of what I'm eating now is enough to kind of to get my insulin up a little bit, but not too much to where I'm getting back into like issues with blood sugar. So I hope that makes sense. Melissa says I'm in the adjustment phase in menopause, I guess. It's like and I want to bring more people on. I've got Dr. Anna Kabecka's interview on my podcast this week on Wednesday, where I want to talk more about menopause, perimenopause, because I feel like these kind of get brushed under the rug. And it's like, this is where women really struggle. This is most of the messages that I get are women that are in the menopause or perimenopause, and they just can't lose the weight and they're stuck. And then they start having the histamine issues as well during that time period. So yeah, that's definitely something I want to talk about more in the future. Let's see. I'm guessing that's where taking digestive enzymes helped with easing you into high fat. Actually, I had to take the HCl was what helped me a lot with easing into high fat. And I wish I had had the HCl from Healthy Gut, because the one I had, it worked kind of on and off, but I had to do a lot of HCl because I had a lot of loose stools when I first switched to high fat. Tammy says, when you say high fat, how much is high? I stay around 75-25. Carnivore is working for me. And that's a good place to be, 75-25. If your body's happy with that, I think that's a great place. I switched to 90-10 for a while to get my cycle back and to get my hormones regulated. I had to go super high. Even 75-25 wasn't cutting it for me, but now it's definitely not that high anymore. I know I've probably missed some. Let's see. How many carbs is needed to maintain electrolyte balance? I mean, this is going to be different for everybody. Since I was keto or carnivore, really high fat carnivore for so long and carnivore for so long, my body was pretty well adapted to 0 carbs. And so even just like the teeniest bit from like avocado, or like I said, I love my collard greens. I had some of those today. Artichoke, asparagus, those kind of low anti-nutrient plant foods that I've added back in, that's been enough for me. And it's probably still, 30 grams or more or less, give or take, 30, give or take is where I'm at. And it's been fine for me, but you may need a lot more. It just depends on your body. You have to figure out your own personal threshold. And Trevor says, I'm taking the Biogest from Thorne, which has HCl enzymes and ox bile. Yeah. I've heard good things about that one. And I think I used to recommend that before I found Steve and his products, because I just love those so much. Let's see. Hi, how do you know if you're having histamine issues? What's an example of a symptom? You're so awesome. Thanks for all the info. So histamine, runny nose, and it happens like right after you eat typically. Typically, it's right after you eat. Headache is a big one, runny nose. Some people get heart palpitations, itchy scalp, flushing of the face. Like all those are usually histamine issues. There's histamine receptors on the bladder. So some people can have issues with their bladder. I've experienced that one, and that one really sucks. So even like I see interstitial cystitis symptoms can be actually histamine lying in wait, which is insane, but it's a real thing. So those are some histamine reactions. So Laura Bennett also asked, how do I stay on track when my family is not keto? I did a video about this of how to stay keto or carnivore when your family is not, and go watch that. Just search it on my channel. But essentially you have to just set the stage for them. That's kind of what I've done. We just don't keep junky foods in the house. If they want something, my daughter doesn't get it because I'm strict with her. But if my husband wants something junky, he can go get it from somewhere else, eat it somewhere else, and don't bring it here. I've just had to put my foot down over the years. And now my daughter is kind of the same way because we keep her mostly keto. We just don't bring that stuff in the house. Let's see. Trevor says, did you have to get up in the middle of the night to urinate with regards to histamine reactions and histamine receptors on the bladder? Yeah, that's one of my main issues, Trevor, was like nighttime urination was horrible, like 6, 7, 8 times a night plus. And that for me was histamine. My bladder would get irritated, and that was horrible, just absolutely horrible. And everyone doesn't have that. Some people get horrible headaches. I have a lot of clients that'll get a headache like right away. And I'm like, yep, we can't stay away from that. Let's see. Okay, I have more questions. I'm going to go fairly soon, but I know there's a lot of you guys on. So if you guys have questions, you can throw them in and I will try to get to them. Let's see. Sandy Zappa says, so if I'm going along and doing great and then boom, out of nowhere, wake up inflamed. I mean, that's usually something that you've come across in your environment. It could be an environmental thing. You could have come across mold or environmental toxin. If you didn't change anything about the way that you're eating, I would look to something environmental, or it could be a detox reaction, or it could be a major electrolyte imbalance. You could be really low in potassium and have too much sodium. Trevor says, oh, wow, that's a lot worse than once a night for me. Thanks. Yeah, once a night's not bad. I think that we've kind of said, like, you can't ever, if you wake up in the night at all, period, like that's a big problem. Waking up once a night to pee is not necessarily bad. And then waking up in the night is not necessarily horrible. You don't want to do it a lot, but I've been studying a lot of Dr. Andrew Huberman's work. I don't know if you guys have watched him at all. I love Dr. Andrew Huberman, but he is he's a neuroscientist. And what he says is that we actually kind of do wake up at the end of every sleep cycle. Every sleep cycle is 90 minutes long. And it's just a matter of like how often that we don't want to be wide awake, but a lot of people will wake up at the end of every sleep cycle just for a minute and they go back to sleep. What I have done with my nighttime wake ups that is amazing, again, is the mouth taping. And when somebody told me about mouth taping, I was like, that is the most barbaric, insane thing I've ever heard of. I will never, ever do that. But I'm telling you, I have the Oura Ring to track my sleep. 2.5 hours, sometimes 3 hours of deep sleep a night, which is insane because I was only getting like 1 hour of deep sleep a night. And since mouth taping, I'm getting almost sometimes 3 hours of deep sleep per night. I'm still getting 1.5 hours or more of REM sleep. So my REM sleep has never really been an issue, but the deep sleep was an issue for me. And so, I cannot highly recommend the mouth taping enough. It's just absolutely awesome. The Euler and a grounding mat. I don't have a grounding mat. Interesting. I have a acupressure mat that I lay on before I go to sleep, but I don't have a grounding mat. There's a mat that a guy I interviewed, Dr. Dannenberg, that he was telling me it was like a PEMF mat. And he was like telling me how wonderful it was. He had sold me on this thing and I was like, okay, I'll go get it. But it was like $5,000 for this mat. So I don't know if your grounding mat, Trevor, is anything comparable to that, but I'll have to check that out. Let's see. Michelle says, what do you think about iodine intake from 12 milligram to 50 and higher for Hashimoto's? I have read the book from Lynn Farrow. So the Lynn Farrow, I have not read the book and I don't have a lot of experience with the whole iodine thing. The iodine thing is a big thing right now. I know Nutrition with Judy has an iodine urine test that she just mentioned on one of her videos. I think that's the best route for people to get before they start getting into supplementing a lot of iodine. I would test and see where you're actually at. Do you actually need it? You might need it. But in Hashimoto's, there are some practitioners that say if you supplement iodine and you already have Hashimoto's, it can cause Hashimoto's and it can make your Hashimoto's worse. So, most people say that Yeah, and Tech Resources says iodine is amazing, but go very slow. Yeah, because it will cause a detox reaction. So you have to be careful. I had a client who she did the hair tissue mineral analysis, and she bought like all the supplements and started all the supplements at once. And she started getting body aches and pain in her feet. And I was like, whoa, what all are you taking? And so we looked at all she was taking for the hair tissue, all of her supplements. And I was like, you should slow the hell down. Let's take everything out and take a couple days off, chill, let your body relax, because this is dumping your body. Yeah. And Tech Research says I had huge oxalate dumping and it really scared me. But yeah, you have to be careful when you're adding in supplements, especially if you're carnivore, because your body, once you've done carnivore for a while, is a lot more sensitive to things. So you have to go super, super slow. So yeah, with iodine, I would test it. I think it's a good thing. I think a lot of us are iodine deficient, but just make sure you actually need it and just be careful with it. That's my thoughts on that. And okay, so ultimate longevity, it's like PMF, but it just grounds with earth frequency. Cool. I'll check it out. I always like stuff like that. I love my acupressure mat. I don't know if any of you guys have laid on one of those before. It's absolutely amazing. It helps you relax before sleep. Someone wants to know, Mats Anderson, have you ever heard of or considered trying a seafood-based carnivore diet with egg yolks and butter as additional fat? I've never heard of that, and I probably wouldn't necessarily do that just because there are so many nutrients I think that you need from ruminant animals, and I really enjoy ruminant animals, but I've never heard of that before. Let's see. Tech Research said face and neck went red and had to do salt loading. Yeah, so this is a thing about some of these supplements and minerals. When you add them on, you can overdo it. You do have to be careful, and you have to know if you actually need it. I think I'm going to get Barton Scott. I had him on here a couple times. I think I'm going to get him to do a live with me to talk about this, because a lot of people are getting the mineral tests and they're starting to add things on, and they can be amazing. But if you do too much too soon, you can have really crazy detox reactions, and then you're going to feel really bad. How do you know when you're fat adapted? Any particular signs to look for? Dr. Annette Boz, I absolutely love her. She says the way you know you're fat adapted, and it will take a little while. It's not going to just happen in 2 days. You might be able to get into ketosis in a couple of days, but it's going to be more like 6 weeks or so, or even longer. Is that you skip a meal and it's not breakfast, and you're like, oh, like a lunch or dinner, you just skip it. You can go that long period of time without food. And again, it's not breakfast. It's like a lunch or a dinner, you skip it and you're like, oh, wow, I did not even need to eat. That's usually the way that you know you're fat adapted, is if you can go long periods of time and you don't get hangry and you don't want to hurt people. That's a pretty good, simple way to know. Let's see. Thoughts on fish roe as a frequent ruminant fat? I've heard fats from fish roe are more unstable than fats like suet. I use fish roe more as like an anti-inflammatory. I love it. I feel the brain power. I feel the brain boost when I have fish roe. I love it. I do it probably a couple times a week, a tablespoon or so a couple times a week. But I do beef suet, the tallow, all of those like every day. Those are my main staple fats, are the suets, the tallows. They're really good for you. There's a lot of controversy about fish oils and fish fats, and that they could be toxic and rancid and all of that. I think you just have to figure out what feels best for you. I feel a big brain boost. I feel really good when I have the fish roe, but for me to sit here and say you have to do that, you need that, I don't really know. So I'm going to go pretty soon, but if you guys have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I'm going to answer a couple more of these submitted questions. Deanne says, how to stop diarrhea on a carnivore diet after trying all the usually recommended things. And I don't know what all the usually recommended things are. I'm going to assume HCl, enzymes, magnesium, Actually, no, not magnesium, because magnesium could worsen it. But HCl and enzymes are the two things. I would get a gut test. I would check in and maybe get a Thrive test and see what's going on. If you have some major dysbiosis, or work with a practitioner that can help you with a GI map, you might have some sort of infection in your gut. A lot of people have the gut infections and they have no idea. That can cause autoimmune issues, that can cause diarrhea. So that might be something where, you could start off a little bit less expensive. GI map is like really expensive. Thrive test is like $99. Their probiotics are pretty inexpensive too. So I would go that route. If that doesn't work, if that doesn't fix it, then you may want to work with somebody like Judy or a practitioner that'll run a GI map for you. See if you don't have some sort of infection going on in there, because diarrhea after 30 days is not really normal unless you just, and you've already tried the HCl and the enzymes to stop that. Let's see. Trevor says, how do you balance out methionine with glycine in your particular diet? Paul Saladino says to make sure you get a lot of I can't say that word. I'm just going to totally ruin foods with cartilage in them. I don't really worry about that so much, to be honest with you. I drink broth and I eat fatty meat, and that I don't necessarily worry about, especially since I do not just do like super strict carnivore. I do strict carnivore, but just not every single day. It's a little bit more of a varied diet now, so I'm a little bit less worried about that. And when I am eating a carnivore, it's still more of a higher fat carnivore. I'm not doing just tons of muscle meat all day. I do organ meats. I do a varied meats. I'm not just eating muscle meat all the time. I do wild seafood. So I eat a pretty good variety. Let's see. I think I actually got to almost all the questions except two. Roman says, why do we crave sugar so much if it's that bad for us? Is there any evolutionary point in loving sugar, and why do we enjoy it way more than fat? Thanks. I personally love fat way more than sugar now that I've been eating it for so long. But our brain does run on glucose. So that's a thing. But our body can make enough glucose for the brain. But the glucose is going to be the sugar is going to be a quicker energy hit for people if they're not fat adapted. And so I think that's why it's so appealing. And like I mentioned earlier, I don't think it's inherently bad to eat like fruits and things like that. Honestly, if you're metabolically healthy, if you have muscle, if you don't have a lot of autoimmune issues or a bunch of weight to lose, I think that that's okay to eat those foods. But if you have metabolic issues, this is like a lot of the people that are younger now, they're all into like the repeat movement. But you'll notice the people that are following this protocol are mostly younger people. I have not really met a lot of people that are like my age and older doing the repeat protocol. So when you're younger, you're a lot more insulin sensitive. You have a lot less metabolic issues. And so I think you can get away with eating this higher sugar type of diet than when you're older and you have more health problems. So that's my thoughts on the sugar. Next time with Steve, could you ask him, will Listeria or H. pylori ever completely go away? Mine is under control, but still there. Yeah, I will definitely ask him that, because I would like to know that myself. I know a lot of people that get H. pylori, it goes away, then it comes back. But I'm sure if with H. pylori, if you have it, your family probably has it too. Like I've never been tested for it, but and I don't think I have it, but I was working with the practitioner one time, and she was like, oh, if we test you for that, we should just test your whole family or treat your whole family if you come back positive, because typically the whole family is infected. So I wonder, but the bacteria still showed up on my gut health test after 10 years. Wow. Well, we have some viruses and things that just like live in the body. That's how the body works. Sometimes you just can't get rid of viruses and things like that. They just kind of like live in the body, but are those things causing you a particular problem at the time? It might be lying dormant. So that's a good question. And then, okay, you took all the drugs for it 9 years ago and the test came back negative. Yeah, it's just one of those. And I've heard that H. pylori testing is like 50, it's hard to test for. A lot of these things like SIBO is even really hard to test for. I'm a big thing of like, what kind of symptoms are you having? Are you having the symptoms of H. pylori? Are you having the symptoms of SIBO? Then that's something that, you might want to look at. But if you're not having the symptoms, I wouldn't necessarily worry about it so much. All right, I have last question. Then I will have I think answered all the questions you guys submitted. And then I'll do a separate video if I miss anything. Esther says, how is Alexis going? I think she meant doing. Can you share tips on how to meditate and start doing yoga? Like how many times per week and how long for each section? Alexis is my daughter, and she's downstairs banging on the wall, being really loud. So that's why I'm like, I should probably go soon. But how to meditate and start doing yoga. My teacher, Light Watkins, that's his name. He has a book called Bliss More. That is how I initially learned to meditate from his book. It's really ridiculously easy. Then I got taught in person, the same kind of technique, but a little bit more of an advanced version. And I do that technique every single day, usually twice a day. You don't have to do it that much. I recommend people meditate 10 minutes a day if they can, at least 10 minutes a day, because there are scientific studies that show meditating as little as 10 minutes a day can actually change the brain within as little as 8 weeks. There's a Harvard study that was done in 2012 that showed the thickening of the cortex and the shrinking of the amygdala, which is your fight flight section, your animal brain. It actually did show that amygdala shrunk down after 8 weeks of just meditating 10 minutes a day. So think about when you get pissed off and somebody, triggers you, that's the amygdala, you go straight to it. So just meditating for 10 minutes a day can lessen the quickness of which you go back to your animal brain. So that's my motivation to continue to meditate every day, is that I just don't want to be an asshole. I don't want everyone everyone to frustrate the hell out of me, because if I didn't meditate, they would. So it helps. It helps a lot. Tech Research says gut test is very important. Yeah, because blood work doesn't always tell you everything that's going on. Blood work tells you very little sometimes about what's going on. I think blood work is great for stuff like your progesterone, those sex hormones, and testosterone. Those are really good. And thyroid, those are good as well. But for gut stuff, yeah, the stool test is going to be king. Let's see. Trevor says, do you not eat organs daily because it aggravates your histamine issues? No, I just don't eat organs daily because I don't really like them. I could tolerate eating organs every day at this point with where I've gotten to with my histamine issues. I definitely could eat them every day and it wouldn't be a problem, but I just really don't love eating them. I get cravings for liver, and you hear a lot of carnivores and people on animal-based diets saying this, like that they'll actually get cravings for organ meats. Like this morning I woke up and I was like, I really need some liver today. And I had liver for breakfast. If you had told me that, I don't know, 2 years ago, I would have been like, you're freaking insane. Like the first year of carnivore, I did not touch an organ meat. I was disgusted by it. I tried it and it was just gross, but then I started actually craving it. And so, yeah, now I do eat the liver. But all right, guys, we're almost at an hour and 15. Any questions before I jump off? This has been really awesome. I can't believe I got through all those questions. I know I probably missed a couple of them that you guys submitted, but it's really fun to come on and interact with you guys. I do have my private group that is open, ongoing, and that's linked below. I will be doing a challenge in June that'll be carnivore, animal, keto based, and it'll be all about stress, and reducing stress in order to lose weight, in order to get the body working properly. So you can sign up for my newsletter. That'll be linked in the information section if you want to know when that opens up. Probably I'll open it up in a few weeks, because it's just beginning of May here. And yeah, it's just fun to hang out with you guys. And Tammy says, if I ever wake up with a craving for liver, I will have arrived. That's hilarious. I honestly felt the same way. But once I started eating it, I thought it was disgusting. And then I started craving it. And so obviously my body needed something in that liver. Tech Resources says, thank you, Sarah. Great talk. Thank you for being here, Tech Resources. Thank you guys for all being here. And yeah, as always, I try to look at all my comments. So if you're watching replay, feel free to leave me a comment. And yay, have a really great week. I've got a video coming out on Tuesday about the really horrible reaction that I had to a food substance that I tried to reintroduce and like what I did about it, and a farm haul that I did also this week. So I've got some good content coming out for you guys. And yeah. All right. Well, happy Sunday. I can hear my family like they're ready for mom to come on out of the office. All right, guys. Have a really wonderful rest of your Sunday. Bye.